bleachers at this time. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we kindly invite the band and the blue and gold dancers to please make their way to the field. All other guests are asked to please make their way to the bleachers at this time. Once again, at this time, we invite the band and the blue and gold dancers to please make their way to the field. All other guests, please begin making your way to the bleachers.
But then again, too few to mention, I did what I had to do, saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway. More, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall, and did it my way. I've loved, I've laughed and cried, I've had my fill, my share of losing, and now as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my
Sparky.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, at this time, we kindly invite the band and the blue gold dancers to please make their way to the field. All other guests are asked to please make their way to the bleachers at this time. The Addams family, please report to your seats on the field at the 50-yard line. Once again, at this time, the band and blue and gold dancers are invited to make their way to the field. All other guests, please begin making your way to the bleachers. Thank you.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring's like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have found a pair of keys on a purple elastic wristlet. If you have lost a pair of keys on a purple elastic wristlet, your keys are currently going to the concession stand.
Fill my heart with song, let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony will begin in approximately 5 minutes. Once again, at this time, we're asking all guests to please begin making their way to the bleachers, and all members of the band and blue and gold dancers, please make your way to the field. Once again, our ceremony will begin in approximately 5 minutes.
since you can't disparage as the local gentry, and they will say it's elementary. Try to separate them. It's an illusion. Try, and you will only come to this conclusion. Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Dad was told by mother, you can't have one, you can't have none, you can't have one without the Try to separate them. It's an illusion. Try, only come to this conclusion. Love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. Dad was told by mother, you can't have one. You can't have one without the other.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we kindly ask that you all rise, face the flag at the north end of the field, and please welcome the Kenmore East Band to perform the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium at the center of the field, today's Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Dennis Danheiser.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the entire Adams family, I want to welcome you to Sparky Adams Field in this celebration of life for Coach Dick Sparky Adams. I was honored and humbled when Rick, Coach's son, asked me to be the MC for this wonderful event. We are here to celebrate Coach Adams' extraordinary life. Coach Adams left a powerful legacy through a life well lived. He had such a positive and profound impact on so many people during his lifetime. As a dedicated husband to his loving wife Jean of 64 years, as a father to son Rick, and Rick's wife Susan, who could not be here, to Coach's daughters Penny and Amy, and Amy's husband Keith. As a grandfather to Alex, who was just married 2 weeks ago to her husband Eric. To Shelby, who I like to call Sparkler. And her boyfriend Robbie is here. To Rachel, who was unfortunately not able to be here today. Corey and Brian's girlfriend Alyssa. As a friend and colleague to the administrators, teachers, and coaches Coach worked with, and to the many people he crossed paths with over his 91 years. As an educator to thousands of students who benefited from his knowledge and ability to motivate. And as a coach, a mentor to the many young men who played for Coach Adams. Coach Adams molded young men into good people while serving as the head coach of Kenmore East for 14 seasons. We are all better off for knowing Coach Adams because of his character, his wisdom, his leadership, and his love. It was an honor to play for Coach, and it was even more of a privilege coaching with him for the last 10 years from 2004 to 2014. I saw Coach in a whole different light. It wasn't as a player, but it was as a coach, a friend, and just enjoyed that time so much. Coach told his family he wanted a celebration of life that would be celebratory, upbeat, a gathering of friends and family, bringing back the good old days of Kenmore East to celebrate one last time. And I think he would be really, really proud looking down today, seeing the blue and gold and everybody here. So a round of applause to everybody here. Beautiful. Right now, we ask you to stand and observe a short moment of silence for Coach Adams. Thank you, everyone. And now, to get this party started, can we get a round of applause for the Kenmore East cheerleaders who are going to perform right now? Awesome. Great job. So the agenda for today includes a few speakers who will share their reflections about Coach Adams. First up is a gentleman from the class of '68. He played for Coach Adams in 1966 and '67. He was a stabilizing center for Coach Adams' team that won 7-1, and he was an excellent long snapper. He was always inspired about Coach Adams' teachings and always had a great love and admiration for Coach. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Chuck Fancourt.
Wow. What a great day to celebrate the great coach at this great Sparky Adams field. The weather is awesome. The coach, I think, must have asked for this. Anyway, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Thank you, Marv. Hi, my name's Chuck Fancourt. I played for the great Kenmore East at 65 on the JV, 67, 68, or 66 and 67 for the great Coach Adams and the great Kenmore East High School. I have no clue why I'm here right now because I'm not in the Hall of Fame. I was never a captain, but I love football. I love the coach, and I love my high school. So football was the glue that got me to be next to Coach Adams. It wasn't always that way for me. My first year of organized football, I was in 7th grade in Philadelphia at a junior high that played 7th, 8th, and 9th grade football. I played in 7th grade, and I was chicken. I didn't like football, but there was a maniac football player named Regan Beck that was in 8th grade at the time. Regan went on to be Hall of Fame in his high school, Hall of Fame at the University of Delaware. Regan was a crazed maniac, and he was a friend. Anyway, I told Regan after that 7th grade year, I think I'm going to play soccer next year. And Regan looked at me and said, Chuck, you're a yellow gut. Not yellow, yella. Boy, did that ever stick with me. So fortunately, at that time, I got to move up to Buffalo and went to Hoover in 8th grade. I had a year to think about being a yellow gut, which really kind of drove me nuts. But in that year at Hoover, I met guys like Gemmer, Fiden, Stevens, Rutkowski, Hunter, Jim Bambi Krieg, Neff, Caffarelli, lots of great football players. They became my friends. So now it's 9th grade, and it's get rid of the yellow gut thing or not. So I signed up for football, played at Hoover. We had a great season, undefeated. I think we tied a game. Anyway, that's where I began to love football. So now it's off to the great Kenmore East. I saw, after making the cut, I saw this great coach with his ball cap and his whistle going around orchestrating, managing, leading. And I thought, man, I want to play for that guy. So as a sophomore, I thought I'm going to beat out the senior and the junior center. No, that's not the way Coach Adams worked. You have to pay your dues. So I had to play JV like most of the guys. So I did that. JV, we had a great year. It's now on to being a junior. So I think now I only have the senior to beat. Nope. But that senior had a bad snap in a big game that we were ahead 19-0 at half and lost 21-19. That center snapped the ball over the head of the punter. From that point forward, Coach Adams said, Fancourt, you are snapping on punts, extra points, and field goals. I loved it. I'm going to get my letter. So we did that, and about a game or two later, I have an accident. I rip the heck out of my left ankle. They take me to the hospital, put a cast on me, and I'm thinking, darn, this is what I waited for, and now I can't play and I may not get a letter. So I go home, I could feel the swelling in the cast going down. So I go down to the basement, and I take a hacksaw, and I cut the cast off. I walk upstairs in front of my parents with a piece of cast in one hand and a piece of cast in the other, and they went, Chuck, what have you done now? I said, I want to play football. So I show up at the next practice. Coach Adams looks at me and he goes, Chuck, where's the cast? I said, Coach, I want to play football. Take me up. And that he did. And I earned my letter playing the rest of the season at that level. So now it's on to my senior year. And as was just mentioned, we were 7-1. We lost to a team, I won't tell you their name. I'll just keep that one under the radar. Some of the guys know here what I'm talking about. But we did have a good season. And by the way, I got to say something else about that cast. I was told for years that Coach Adams would talk to the subsequent players and say, tell them about me, about this kid that cut his cast off and wanted to play football that much. Well, I didn't know whether he was talking about me in a positive way or telling all these kids, look, if you ever get hurt and get a cast, don't be like that dumbass and cut your cast off. Anyway, senior year again, 7-1, we lost. And you know, after the season, there are awards. There's all Western New York, first team this, second team that. I didn't get any of those. But somebody, a letter was turned into the newspaper that said, Chuck Fancourt, for my money, should have been mentioned somewhere. You know, I never got to thank my dad for sending that in. Anyway, that was the end of my high school career. But years subsequent to that, or after that, I kept in touch. When I come back from Ohio, where I live, I'd go to practices, I'd go to some games, stay in touch with the coach. In the later years, we had the media, so emails and Facebook and such. I was able to stay in contact that way. At any rate, we had an event for the coach a couple of months ago, and he was dying. But another adjective for him is guts. You know, he knew he was dying, but he showed up for all these guys, and we all loved seeing him, and we kind of felt that we'll never see that man again, that we all love dearly. So we're all, at the end of this event, I'm walking to the back for the big picture, you know, the big photograph at the end, and Jim Dunnigan says to me, Chuck, sit next to the coach. So I did, and I grabbed his hand, sitting next to him, and I said two things, Coach. This was just a few months ago. I said, one, thank you for all you've done, for all the guys in this room, and so many hundreds of other football players, and all the lessons we learned that we've taken through life. Thank you. And I said, the second thing is, Coach, I love you. And it's the last thing I ever said to him. So, with that being said, I want to say we got to talk to, all of us have to talk to the coach right now with his famous words. We all know what they were, which are once a bulldog, always a bulldog. We're going to do this together at the count of three. All of us. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Once a bulldog, always a bulldog. Wait. Not loud enough. The coach has to hear us, okay? At the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Once a bulldog, always a bulldog. Thank you. God bless you all.
Great job, Chuck. One thing I just wanted to add really quickly, Chuck touched on it, how important his players were to Coach Adams. I saw Coach, I think 4 days before he passed, and you could tell that time was getting close. And but he still had a great sense of humor. He was showing me pictures on his cell phone, believe it or not. And he wanted to really drive across one thing to me while I was there, and it was how important his players were to him, that he loved them. And I think all the way from the time he started and even into the late 2000s, that he had a huge impact on those players. One of those players texted me last night. I asked him to be here. He was from I think the 2014 team, Andy Fields. And he texted me and he said, "Coach, we would love to be there, but one of our teammates, Jake Jones, is getting married, and we have to be at the wedding." He said, "Coach was a once-in-a-lifetime coach." And that's coming from someone who only, really knew Coach for a couple years and late in Coach's life. So I thought that was really important to share with everybody. Next up is one of the best players in the storied history of Kenmore East football. An all-Western New York quarterback, he led the Bulldogs to an undefeated season in 1970, the first under Coach Adams. He went on to play Division I football on a full scholarship at the University of Wyoming. A member of the Kenmore East Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Trousseau.
Thank you, Dennis. I just want to thank the Adams family, Rick in particular, for even thinking of having me make comments in memorial to your dad. I am exceptionally honored to address you in memorial to the most influential coach and mentor that I personally have experienced in my lifetime. How fortunate I and so many other players were to have been associated with a truly inspirational and great man. Coach Adams was a brilliant motivator, and his knowledge and expertise as a coach was truly amazing. He taught us the fundamentals and created a winning desire in developing young men to become the best we could become, not only in playing football, but established an attitude of success for our entire lifetimes. He instilled in us all the desire to appreciate our opportunities we should never take for granted, to respect the greatest game ever invented by respecting our coaches, fellow teammates, and our opponents. Coach Adams, however, was not a passive coach. Indeed, he was quite the opposite. He believed and demanded that his players have a team-first attitude. No individual player, no matter how good they were or how good they thought they were, good thing I'm not throwing paper anymore, or how good that they thought they were, would be allowed to disrupt the required team approach to winning. I personally, in my junior year, only had to be told once that I was getting too big for my britches. I never had to be told that again for the rest of my high school and college playing years. His positive influence went far beyond our playing days. There was never a time in his presence that I wasn't amazed with his unbelievable recall of events and circumstances of numerous players, fellow coaches, and friends that were literally just mind-boggling. He had an uplifting personality. His determination, kindness, enthusiasm, motivation, patience, and concern for us was always expressed every time we met. So here we are today at this athletic complex, this gridiron, named so appropriately in his honor while still alive. We who attended that ceremony were moved to witness how happy and proud he was that day. We knew then, and certainly now, that this field is just a fraction of the legacy he has left us all. I, and so many others, were blessed to have Dick Sparky Adams as our coach and lifelong friend. Our connection with him is ingrained in our lives, and we will always remember and cherish his memory. Thank you very much.
Great job, Steve. Jim Dunnigan, who shared a very close relationship with Coach Adams, was unable to be here today. And I talked to him this morning, and he was very upset that he wasn't able to deliver his speech. He asked me to do that for him. Jim was a Kenmore East grad in 1969. He played football for Coach Adams and went on to play at the University of Rochester. He taught at Franklin Junior High, Kenmore West as a assistant principal, and he was a assistant principal and principal at Kenmore East. He coached with Coach Adams from 1974 through 1978. Jim is also the president of the Kenmore East Alumni Association. He said he definitely shed a few tears while writing his speech. I deeply regret that I'm unable to be with you today to share my comments about Coach Adams. When Rick told me of his passing, I had tears of sorrow, knowing that I had lost a trusted friend and advisor. And then I had tears of joy, thinking of all that he has meant to me over the past 60-plus years. I had tears of sorrow, thinking of Ricky, Penny, Amy, in losing their father. And then I had tears of joy, thinking of what a wonderful upbringing he provided them. I had tears of sorrow, thinking of all the guys who played for him, and he's no longer just a phone call away. Then I had tears of joy, thinking of the character he built in each and every one of us. Now when I think of Coach, I smile. I first spoke to Coach in 1962. Our family was on the way home from a summer trip and stopped at a rest area on the Thruway. I saw Coach and Gene at a table having a cup of coffee. As I walked past, I meekly said, "Hello, Mr. Adams." He responded, "Hello, Jim." He actually knew my name at the ripe age of 11 years old. I thought, man, I can't wait to play football at Kenmore East. So a few years later, I was there and was exposed to new terminologies and a regimen of daily discipline. Suddenly, I found out that Bull in the Ring was a suicide drill to develop character and increase testosterone. I found out I couldn't be lousy, lazy, and logy. Logy means sluggish and those kind of, I think he got that word from Lou Reuter. And I found out that 88 and out the gate was a near exhausting end of practice ritual. Playing for Coach was a daily learning experience. His classroom was the practice field, and the final exam was given each weekend. We did pretty well over my 2 varsity years. We went 11-4-1. He worked us to the highest level of our abilities. The daily ritual was more than learning plays. It was a slow, methodical development of leadership, skills, and fraternal bonding amongst our teammates, bonds which remain to this day. He saw talents and qualities of character in each of us, which we were too naive and too young to embrace, but he nurtured them, and I'm sure delighted in watching us grow through the years. I remember so vividly when I was a senior at Kenmore East, when I would skip study hall to sit with him as he was going over the design of this field. So quick side note, I talked to Jim this morning. I wasn't even aware that the field wasn't here in the late 60s. Jim said it was a field, a forest. The varsity would play over at Crosby Field, and the JV played behind Kenmore East. So I learned something today. So Coach Adams was busy trying to build this, and sorry about that. So he was busy laying out the plans for this field. Little did he know, years later, that they would name it Sparky Adams Field. I thought that was a great story. Back to Jim, okay. I remember also during that time when I knew that I was going to the University of Rochester to play ball. I said I wanted to come back and coach with Coach Adams. He told me he would welcome my help. After 4 years of playing ball at the U of R, I came back and Coach was true to his word. I got a teaching job at Franklin and offered my services as a volunteer coach. The coaches at that time were the venerable Lou Reuter, Gary Dean, and Bruce McKellar. Both Gary and Bruce were Kenmore East football players. Those alumni who served as volunteers were myself, Mike Chrisman, and Mike Clark. I think that reflects the loyalty we all had to his program. Others who went on to coach at Kenmore East and other schools were Jeff Gemmer, Jeff Martin, and Dennis Danheiser. I know he embedded the love of football into all of us. Many of his players went on to play at the next level of competition. He would send films and call coaches on our behalf to get us to play at all levels of competition. Among the colleges and universities to which he sent players include East Tennessee State, Rhode Island, West Point, U of R, Williams, Cortland, Brockport, Columbia, Boston University, Taft Junior College, Yankton Junior College, Edinburgh, Cornell, Washington University, Lehigh, Northwestern, Syracuse, Yale, Princeton, Tampa, and Wyoming. Pretty impressive. Marshall. I didn't write this. The coach never failed to follow up on us during our college years. I remember him and Gene coming up to the U of R to watch Jack Stevens, John Hunter, Larry Stuckey, and me in the fall of '71. It meant a lot to us. As a member of his coaching staff from '74 to '78, I developed a deeper relationship with Coach Adams. I was behind the scenes and witnessed the true greatness of his design. It was all about development, all about integrity, and all about respect for the game. Through those simple ideals, he knew he could develop youngsters into men of integrity. And it was about mentoring his coaching staff as well. We were his students once again. He developed our knowledge of the game and coaching skills. But it wasn't without levity. One day he asked Coach Reuter if he knew how to do a French pull-up. He told him that he should just grasp the top of a nearby soccer goal and pull his head up under the bar. Lou's response was, "By golly, I can do that." Jim says he remembers that as clear as day, even though it was 50 years ago. As Lou attempted this, I followed orders of the coach to go and pull Lou's pants down to his ankles. Lou was in good humor and enjoyed the joke. And there were our end of triple sessions, night out, with the coaching staff. Jim says coaching the next day after that was a big challenge. I think they went out and enjoyed themselves. When Coach told us that he was going to retire from coaching at Kenmore East at the football banquet in '77, it was devastating to hear. He said he would support Bruce to be the next coach, which did occur. I was appointed as Bruce's assistant, but unfortunately I lost my teaching job, and as a result, I could no longer coach. I had hoped to work with Bruce to sustain the high level of play and legacy of the Bulldog tradition. After years out of the Kenton district, I was able to return as assistant principal at Kenmore West. When I first saw Coach, I apologized to him for having to work at our greatest rival. He told me to do my best. When I had the opportunity to transfer to Kenmore East, he was one of the first calls I made. I wanted him to know that I was back home to help continue the spirit and create the sense of community the school deserved. Over the past year or so, a number of players have made it a point to get over to see Coach for dinner or lunch at various times to share his company, knowing that this wouldn't be available forever. Each time, Coach proved to be sharp of mind, recalling each game. His recollections were amazing. We went with the intention of raising his spirits, but true to his character, he was the one who inspired us. I think we walked out of his home ready to put our helmets on and play for him one last time. Coach coined the phrase, once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. Many schools introned such a phrase, but his declaration had a deeper meaning than others. It means to play until the whistle, never give up, persevere, respect your opponent, be virtuous, and perform to the best of your ability. His life was a model of this ethic, and we all benefited from it. We don't want to lose those who we love, but the strength of their presence stays with us beyond their passing, as it does with Coach. He's embodied in this field and in our hearts. I hope you do as I do when you think of him and smile. Okay, I understand. Shelby, no? What'd we find?
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today to celebrate the life of somebody, as most of you knew, was Coach. But to me, he was the best grandpa. I've grown up hearing stories of all the football players, students, faculty that he's worked with over the years, and he truly loved and believed in each and every one of you. He always believed, once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog. That saying has stayed with us for most of our lives. Sparky, or Grandpa, would have been so happy to see all these people here to celebrate him. He taught me how to be strong and brave and also resilient. No matter what I was doing, whether it be playing soccer or running in a track meet, he would always be there. And no matter how I finished or how the game came out, he always told me that as long as you did the best you could, I'm proud of you. He was my biggest fan and supporter. I know that I truly miss him, and I'm sure most of us do here today. but I know that he is standing here with all of us. I loved being around him. He made my sister and I forts out of cardboard in the basement that we loved and would spend hours in. He'd take us to the park at Heritage and sit with us all day. My favorite part was playing in the train, as some people know Heritage. But for Alex, she loved to have him push her on the swings and go high in the sky. We would go on bike rides, walks on the golf course, and he was truly one of a kind. He really was my best friend. He loved his family, and now he has an even bigger one with every single one of you here today. And as you leave here today, I'd like you all to take a piece of him with you and carry it each day and celebrate a man who was a legend and a man of great character. And to you, Grandpa, I promise to always continue to make you proud and continue to watch over all of your family and all of the Bulldogs. And today's for you. So thank you all for being here. I'm sorry I'm a little nervous. But thank you.
Super job, Jordan. Beautifully said. I believe now, before we have Rick say a few words, the band is going to play. Is that correct? Oh, I've been corrected. Close out the speeches, Coach Adams' son Rick would like to share his reflections. Rick was an outstanding football player for his dad, earning second-team All-New York State honors at center. He went on to play college football at Lehigh, where he was a 3-year starter at center and a member of Lehigh's 1977 National Championship team. A member of the Lehigh Hall of Fame, Rick was also inducted into the Kenmore East Athletic Hall of Fame, something he fondly shares with his dad. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Rick Adams.
Before I start, I'd like to introduce a very, very close friend of Dad's, a legend in his own way, Coach Jim McNally. Before I start, I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Brett Banker, the head of the athletic department for the whole school system, and his office. They were great in helping me plan this and pull it off today. I want to thank Gary Miller. He was very instrumental in pulling strings to get Anderson's, Ted's, and Salen's donations for us. Today, when we leave, if you so desire, for a $5 donation to Dad's Scholarship Fund, you'll get a hot dog and a scoop of ice cream. Dad told me that if we put on this event, you gotta feed them. So there you go. And it just so happens his two favorite foods are Ted's hot dogs and vanilla ice cream. I also would like to thank the other speakers, Dennis, Jimmy Dunnigan, even though he can't be here, and the building and grounds people who helped set everything up. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but no, I love you. Excuse me. When... Yeah, baby, yeah! When Dad had the stadium dedicated, the first thing he did was outstretch his arms and give everybody a big hug. So here's from Dad. I have so many memories about Dad, but what you don't know is about his upbringing, how he got his name, and the behind the scenes things, the things that only we know. And I'd like to share some of them. Dad was, he was born in Rochester. He grew up in Silver Creek. He was the third child of three. His oldest brother, Lee Town, who became judge of Chautauqua County, was 10 years older. And his middle brother, Frank, was 6 years older. Dad's father died at 10. So as he grew up, the only one in the family that he related to was Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank was 6 years old, and he was dubbed by the aunts and uncles Sparky, the first Sparky. But he spelled it K-E-Y. Well, he did that, or I'm sorry, they did that because he was a bit of a spark freak. He liked to light things on fire. So, you know, Dad would always hang out with him, but being 10 and Uncle Frank 16, Dad was a little naive and would always take the brunt of the punishment. Well, when Uncle Frank turned 18, he went into the service, and due to Dad's liking and rabble-rousing with Frank, he was dubbed the new Sparky. But so the aunts didn't get confused, they spelled his just K-Y. When the day after the dedication, I said to Dad, I said, you know, why is it Dick when your real name's Richard? And he told me because he was always doing stuff with Uncle Frank, and he was the one that got caught, that when it came time for discipline, it would be, Richard, get over here. Well, I guess it happened a lot because he became unhappy with the name Richard. So from the time he left home, he was always Dick, and he introduced himself as Dick. Dad was a very principled man, and he loved his family. Let's see, I'm a Medicare man, and sometimes I forget. So forgive me if I need to check the notes. What do we do? Oh yeah, when he was in high school, he played 4 sports: football, basketball, baseball, and track. If there was a track meet, he would run his event, which is the 100 and 200, and then he'd go to baseball practice. When he had a football game, at halftime, he would take off his helmet and play the tuba with the band. He loved it. He loved the band. He loved the cheerleaders. And he told me that if we're going to have an event, the cheerleaders, the dancing girls, the band, they have to be included. And I said to him, why? And he said, well, what would it be like if there were no cheerleaders, no band, no dancing girls? And I looked at him, I said, boring. So that was the first thing we had to take care of. Football became his real passion. And I think that had to do from when he was a young kid. The Adams family always had family reunions in the summer. And one year when Dad was 9, one of the relatives gave him a baseball, and it was autographed. And on the autograph, it said, "To my good friend, Pop Warner, best wishes, Babe Ruth." Well, that's pretty amazing. I didn't know about this baseball till I was 21 when he gave it to me as a present. But what was more interesting was that he never told me that the person who gave him the ball was Pop Warner. Pop Warner was a relative. No wonders Dad did so well. Penny found a book in his belongings after we cleaned out the apartment, and it was a book by Pop called Football for Boys. And inscribed in the front cover was "To Dick Adams, best wishes from the author, Glenn Pop Warner." And so I started reading this book. And as I'm going on, I'm hearing Dad's voice. It was incredible. Everything that was in Pop's book, Dad did at Kenmore East. He had to build trust. Pop said you needed to teach character. You had to stress the fundamentals. You had to encourage strong bodies. And that's where that saying, "Fat cats can't fight. Lazy losing, loafing loads." God, did I hear that a lot. I never understood why, because I was a pencil neck growing up. Oh, man. Anyway, another staple and cornerstone was building confidence. And you know, I always remember my first day of college football practice. All the coaches did was scream and yell. And I said, you know, no wonders Dad was so good. Because the only time he screamed was to say, "Way to go!" When you made a mistake, he said, "Hey, what did you do?" And the guys would show, you know, "Okay, let's take this step. And then let's do this. And now let's walk through it. And now we'll do it full speed. And when you did it, way to go!" And man, by the time Saturday came, you could run through a brick wall. And you knew you wouldn't even hurt. He was special. He was special. This was the foundation of his coaching, but it was also how he treated everyone. He used to tell me all the time, "Be nice and do your best." That's all he cared about, was do your best, whoever you are, wherever you are, with whatever talent you have. He treated the first string guy as great as the last string guy, because they were all his guys, and they all deserved the utmost effort from him to them. He was wonderful. He has, well, great children. Well, he's got 2 great children than me. But his wife, Jean, she was everything to him. Oh, this is hilarious. Dad told me this story many times. They got set up on a blind date. And Ma realized what a great, great man he was. And Dad was smitten. Ma was beautiful and smart, just the kind of woman he dreamed about. So they're out on their date, and all of a sudden, Dad tells me, Ma stops and grabs his arm and says, "Are you gonna marry me?" And Dad says, "Yeah." And 10 months later, they got married. And she was a huge part of Kenmore-East's success. Dad used to do all the blocking rules or the schematics of new planes. And he would go over it with Mom. And if she understood, then he knew his players would. And God bless Ma. She's looking down on us too. But there was so, yeah, thank you. There are so many stories I could tell about Dad and I, but there's just not enough time. Plus, the other night I was proofreading my speech, and about halfway through, I said, "Holy mackerel, I am bored." So I tore it up and I started a new one, and I'll keep this short. One story, Dad always had a push lawnmower, and he liked to keep the grass high. So when I'd have to move it was a bear, man. My legs would get a workout. And I would always beg him, "Come on, Dad, buy a power mower." No, we don't have the money, blah, blah, blah. Well, as soon as I went to Lehigh, he went to Sears and bought a power mower. So I come home at Christmas, and I see the mower in the garage. I said, "What the hell did you wait so long for?" He said, "Oh, I was building up your legs." Then there was another time, I was a sophomore, and Dad took me to the Odd for the sectional basketball championships. And between two of the games, I said to him, "Oh man, Dad, would that be cool, playing on the Odd floor where the Buffalo Braves play?" And he said, "Well, why can't you?" And I was like, "Oh my God." So I just started practicing basketball now, more. And it really wasn't me that got us to the sectional finals, but we made it. Except we didn't make it to the Odd. We played at freaking Niagara University. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh. All right. Somebody's going to yell at me for this story. We're playing Sweet Home my senior year. They're number 1 in the state, and we're number 2. And on Monday after practice, Dad and Coach Mack and Jimmy Dunnigan, they'd stay in the office and do game planning and stuff. So he'd come home an hour and a half after I would. And while I'm eating dinner, I'm reading the sports page, and there's a big article. If Kenmore-East is going to win, they have to stop this Brian McNamara on Sweet Home. 6'4", 245, defensive tackle, All-American. Woody Hayes is going to give him a full boat, blah, blah, blah. And I'm reading this article, and I'm getting intimidated. And so I just stopped reading. And I ate, and I went and sat down and watched Jeopardy, or who the hell knows. And about an hour and a half later, I'm sitting on the couch, and Dad comes in, and Mom gives him dinner, and he starts reading this same article. All of a sudden, he walks up to me, and he says, "You see this guy? Wherever he is, you're gonna kick his ass." And I got up and ran to the bathroom and puked. All right, last one. Somebody, I think it was Shelby, said that all Dad cared about was you do your best. Well, Ma didn't want me to play for Dad. She was so afraid of the pressure I was going to be under, being the coach's son. And I didn't care. But Ma was adamant, and she made me take the entrance exam for Nichols, and I got in, and so I'm going to go, and I go for orientation, and it's all this blah, 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 you know. And at the end, we're in the auditorium, and the headmaster tells his speech and says, hey, does anybody have a question? And I stand up, because I'm shy. And the guy says, what would you like to know? And I said, well, what happens if you get done with your homework before the end of the day? Because he bragged that Nichols gives an hour and a half of homework every day. And I'm saying to myself, I did that at Kenmore-East. So he says, we'll give you an hour and a half more. That did it for me. How dare you penalizing me for being good? So I told Ma, and she started crying on the way home, that I was going to play for Dad. So Dad, grabs me and takes me out into the garage, and he tells me, excuse me, I don't care if you never played. You can't just be better. A little better than the guy you're ahead of. And I'm sorry because you're my son. But I want you to know that if you go out on that field and on every practice and every game, even if you only play one play, when you go in the locker room and look into the mirror and tell yourself you did the best you can do, then you're a champion in my eyes. What an unbelievable thing to tell your son. All right, senior moment. Nichols. Wrap it up. Okay. Sorry, this was supposed to be 7 minutes. There's some people who sent me things, reflections about Dad. Coach McNally is one, and from a coaching standpoint, Coach used to come in a lot on recruiting visits, and he loved talking with Dad, because all he wanted to do was learn. Learn the newest techniques, the newest schemes, the newest ideas, that he could go become a better coach and in turn kick people's asses even more. He loved that whenever he left the office, he just had a great day. It was just fun to be around. He made your day better after a visit. Then there was Coach Mack. And Dad, the first thing Coach Mack told me was a Pop Warner thing. And that was when Coach Mack got hired, he sat down with Dad, and Dad told him, coaching is not telling. Coaching is showing. And that's what they did. And no matter how long it took you to get it, they would keep showing, correcting, and giving you positive feedback. The last thing I want to mention comes from Coach Jerry Boyes from Buffalo State. Dad coached there from 1990 until 1998 as their defensive coordinator. And man, were they freaking good. They had a top 5 defense in the NCAA Division III every year he coached. And one day, It's before the game, and Dad's giving his fire and brimstone speech and getting those kids jacked up. And Jerry's standing outside the door, listening in, and these kids are screaming. They can't wait to run through the brick door to get on the field. And Dad wraps up his speech. Now let's go Bulldogs! And there it is, once and for all. Even in his last venue, the Bulldogs were always number one. Again, I want to thank you all. He loved you. God bless you. And once a Bulldog, always a Bulldog.
I'm going to send it up to the press box and Steve.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome to the track your Kenmore East cheerleaders. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kenmore East Band. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask everyone to please rise for the playing of Kenmore East's alma mater. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you all please remain standing and remove your hats. Please welcome to the field the Naval Honor Guard to recognize Richard Sparky Adams. Before the construction of the beautiful facility that we are in today, the Kenmore East Bulldog football team would practice on the grounds located behind Kenmore East and the former Brighton Elementary School. At the end of each practice, Coach Adams would have the players run around the varsity baseball backstop up along Eggert Road, around the backstop near the garage on the southeast corner of the school, finally running off the field and into the locker room. The equivalent of an 880-yard run would be referred to as 880 and out the gate. Later, the phrase would be shortened to 88 and out the gate. We now invite everyone for a walk around the track in honor of 88 and out the gate. Once again, at this time, all of our guests are invited to please begin making their way to the north entrance to the track to participate in the walk around the track. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we also invite everyone to touch the rock dedicated to Coach Adams, located under the flagpole at the north end of the complex. We also invite everyone to join us at the concession stand. For a $5 donation to the Kenmore East Alumni Association, you will get a hot dog and a scoop of ice cream. Ladies and gentlemen, a reminder that in 15 minutes' time, all cars need to be removed from Lincoln Park so that the town of Tonawanda may begin setting up for their Halloween bash. Once again, a reminder that in 15 minutes' time, all vehicles that are currently parked in Lincoln Park only will need to be moved so that the town of Tonawanda can begin setting up their Halloween bash. Thank you. final reminder to all of our guests that in 5 minutes' time, if you are currently parked in Lincoln Park, we will need your car moved so that the town of Tonawanda can begin setting up for their Halloween bash. Once again, in 5 minutes' time, all cars need to be moved out of Lincoln Park. Thank you.